So global, this is the global payroll processing and this is the payroll information. So payroll defines the frequency of payment for an employee. It can be weekly, semi-monthly, monthly. Every employee must be assigned a payroll to get paid.
Yeah, sir, 1 minute. But,
Uh,
no, in the Google Drive, I can't find that old recordings here.
uh,
In the email also, you sent only last two sessions. The initial I could not find first four classes.
First three are, I think, there already, na?
Can you show the I can't find it.
Okay, I'll show you. Okay.
Just you can show me later, but we'll proceed.
So it can be weekly, semi-monthly, monthly, depending on the frequency desired. Every employee must be assigned a payroll to get paid. And
Okay.
payroll defines the payroll start date, end date, and there are other dates in the calendar also called offset date, pay slip date, entry cutoff date, processing date, etc. These dates are created when you define a payroll in the system. Okay, so we'll be seeing that how we create the payroll and how we define these calendars and all that. Now, before the payroll is defined, we also need to define what we call as the organization payment method. So it is the payment method for paying the worker. Okay, so they can be paid by direct deposit or check. They can have multiple bank accounts, but this is for the organization. So this is the organization's payment details, bank details, which bank account and where to put and stuff like that. Yeah, or for the individual, they can have multiple accounts. We have seen that, right? They can have multiple accounts and
Yeah.
they can put it into different accounts, different amounts, different percentages as per their choice.
Yeah, yeah. I done myself.
Yes. Payroll, we have seen this. Next is the fast formula that needs to be used. Fast formula is basically used for doing calculations of different payrolls. Okay, absence related, element input validations, and whole lot of things, pay accruals, vacations, benefits, eligibility, derived factors, everything can be done using a literally a formula. Formula is nothing but it is like a high level pseudo language, you can say, which is a mix of English and the programming syntax. So it is used to refer data in the database tables which are stored as database items. Each data that we define for an employee,
Uh,
it
what is
is
this? I
it
don't.
is
So I didn't understand. What is this? So database items are.
every I'm explaining to you. Listen, every data that we store for an employee is stored in the database as database items. So suppose you have employee's first name, last name, date of birth. If you can the system will define a database item which will help you to quickly refer to that data for the employee in the formula. So for example, if you see database item name per name, ASG salary, SP basic salary amount. So that gives you the name of the database item.
Okay.
Okay. Database items,
Basically, you're telling it's a columns.
these are like, I'll not say columns, these are like pointers. These are like the pointer to the database column value.
Okay.
So it's like a path, you can say.
Okay.
So, like in the view is not a table directly, right? But it is only a path to the table, a query to the table, and the data that is underlying. Something similar. So it does not store the actual data, but it gives you the data. So database items are of two types. One is called as um, one is static, and one is dynamic.
Okay.
Okay, static is where the names are defined by default by Oracle and you cannot obviously change them. These names are predefined and come with the system. Dynamic ones are defined as and when you define the items in the system. For example, when you define an element name, system does not have a way of knowing what is the element name, right? Beforehand, they cannot know what is the name of element going to be. It can be anything,
Okay.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So because of that, they can, this is called a dynamic one. So the name will be
Can you
generated.
explain again? Can you explain again with the sun?
Yeah, it is dynamic, means the name of the database item will be generated after you create the item in the database. For example, when you create the element, after
Okay.
that the name of the database item will be generated, because before that system does not know what is the name of the element going to be. I can
Okay.
call it SP basic amount, you can call it Sadik basic amount,
Okay.
right? So depending on the name of the element, depending on the name of the balance, depending on other variables in the system, the name of the database item will be generated. Those are known as dynamic database items.
Okay.
Okay, so anything which is defined by the user during setup, for which there is a database item, is known as a dynamic database item. Understood? So you have static and you have dynamic. Static is predefined. Oracle gives the name beforehand.
Actually, I'm not
Whereas,
very clear. Maybe by exercise I'll come to know.
yeah, whereas in case of dynamic, the names are created when the item name is created and defined in the system.
Okay.
Now, this is the basic structure of a formula. On the left hand side, the structure of a formula is any comments that you want to put, you can put, just like in PLSQL programming, you put comments. Here also you can put comments. So you will have a default section, you will have inputs, you will have outputs,
Hello. Your
and
voice.
you will have return.
Yeah.
You will have inputs, you will have logic or calculations, and then you will return the values from the formula.
Basically, it's a function only.
Yeah, basically it's a function. Correct.
It will return only one value.
Correct. Well, no, it can return multiple values. So those values will catch and will process in our payroll.
Basically, function returns always a single value, right?
Uh, in that case, you call it like a parameter. You think of it as parameters. PLSQL package which will return multiple out
Like procedure.
parameters.
Okay.
Procedure package.
Okay.
So inputs. So if you compare with the structure, inputs, then you will give the logic, and finally you will have a return statement. Got it?
So
That is
input.
how the entire,
No, there's a inputs are. It's a keyword. Is it a keyword?
yes.
Okay.
And then whatever inputs, these mostly these inputs are taken from the payroll element inputs.
Okay.
So whatever inputs you will put on your element, you will get it there.
Is there any sample small
Yeah, this is just an example to give you a side by side comparison.
inputs or entry value of text means what is
So this means what, this is actually a valid input validation type of formula where it is checking what the user is entering. If the value is between 10 and 20, then it will give an error.
no, there's a entry value you mentioned of text. What is a function procedure name and a parameter like that?
Entry value text. Entry value is what the user is entering. So that is the input value. So text means it is being
No,
entered
for
in a
example, if a
format.
basic, basic if you are validating, what value should become here?
Yeah, so it will basically check for the data type of the element of the input value. So the data type here is text.
No, I'm asking this entry value is a free text or like a variable or something like that. It's
No,
a
no,
keyword.
yeah, entry value is the value that is being you can say it is like a variable, you can say, which is referring to the input value being entered for that
Can
input.
can you explain if basic salary is coming? If it is less than zero, I should not accept. What I will define here.
So here you will say if the value is, if the entry value is text and two number, the entry value is less than 10, then you should know, then it is error, else it is
No,
success.
no. Entry value. How do I know this is for which element? This is basic or
So
it,
entry value, this is for, like I told you, this is for element input validation. So input validation, you will always put it against an input value only. So for that input value, whatever value you are entering, system will validate that.
you will write on that element especially?
Yes.
Okay, that's what. So for each element, you will separately write a first formula.
Correct. In if required. These are all if required. If not required, you will not put it. More formulas you put, your processing becomes slower.
Okay, so in what case you use mostly formulas?
Formulas are when you have to do some calculations which are not directly there in the system. For example, PF calculation, HRA calculation, or DA calculations. So these are all calculations that you do based on
In
certain
basic,
formulas.
no, no, we seen for that HRA for some basic thing. If you can put the percentage of basic right for HRA,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
how is the difference between?
So when you put the percentage of basic as the example, okay, here's an example. See, the formula is also written. Understood?
No, this is a fast formula, right?
Correct.
I am telling when you define the element, we seen right that percentage
Hmm.
element itself. When you are defining HRA,
Hmm.
there is option, right? It's amount and percentage like that
Hmm.
based on the column.
Hmm.
You remember
Yes, yes.
what's the difference?
Difference between what?
When we define HRA element, okay,
Huh?
we can choose whether it's a pay amount or percentage. So when we choose the percentage, we should mention which from which column the percentage should. Maybe we'll choose from basic salary 50 percentage. That straight away we can define it right in element.
No, you will put it in the formula that that percentage is to take percentage of what?
Yeah, how to we cannot
No,
mention in the element.
no, you don't mention in the element, na? You mention in the formula. See here, that is what the formula is telling you. Default for salary is zero.
When you go to the
Inputs are
element,
inputs are percentage. Okay.
yeah.
HRA is equal to salary into percentage. So whatever percentage you have entered into the salary is your HRA.
So,
And then you are returning the HRA from the formula.
so when you are defining HRA element, you are telling we have to write formula.
You have to write a separate formula.
So no other way.
No other way. If you are having percentage, how will the system know what percentage to calculate? Or from what element? Because sometimes it may not be
Yeah.
straightforward from
Yes, I
the
remember like
salary element.
no, what I remember when I put percentage,
Hmm.
is there any option to select the element, other element or no?
No, no.
Okay, I have to check that actually.
Hmm. There you can't do that. So here you will have to specify. See, besides, what can happen is your formula may not be based on one element only. It might be based on some calculations also. Your salary 50 the HRA could be based on number of elements, or sometimes companies give allowances, those could be based on different factors.
Yeah, I can't understand this code. The code default for
So
logic
look
is
at look
logic, logic I understand, but I can't understand this default for salary zero. All those things.
hmm, how when PLSQL programming, right?
Yeah.
When do we put a default?
We for okay default basically. So initial value like that.
Correct, correct. So if, like, what happens, you know now how to create an employee. somebody may not have a salary accidentally,
Mm.
then the system, when it will process null into percentage, it will fail.
Yes.
So to avoid that situation, we put a default value. So if somebody's value is missing, put it
No,
as zero.
no, default for salary.
uh,
Salary Oracle keyword is a variable.
it's a variable.
So we are assigning a variable.
Yeah. So that variable is the name of the database item.
It's like salary integer equal to zero, like that.
Correct, correct. So on the left hand side, if the salary, on the right hand side, you have a sample example. If the salary is 10,000, input value is 40%, then HRA is 10,000 into 40%, and so the formula will return 4,000 out of the.
That I understand, fine. But the next line, inputs are percentage. Is it a keyword?
Yes, I told you before, no? Inputs are a key, inputs are is the keyword.
Because it doesn't look like a programming language. It looks like an English language.
That's
That's why.
why I told you, no? I said that in the beginning itself.
Yeah.
What did I say? Read the second line.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I know.
It's a pseudo programming language. So these are the summary of steps for creating a formula. And formula is like maths, there is no end to different types of formulas that you can create. So those you will be creating as per your need.
No, this you can send it to me, but we can start creating it.
Yes. Okay. Next is the payroll process. So when we process payroll, we can do something called as a quick pay. Quick pay is done for one employee at a time, and payroll process is for a group of employees.
Yeah, yeah, I know that. Yeah.
You know this. Submitting the payroll or quick pay ensures elements are processed from the element entries along with their attached payroll formula. After processing, final values will be put in pay value. The next step is to generate the prepayment process that will look at the bank information of the employee and generate the payment instructions.
So this is they'll ask an interview, right?
Yeah, they can ask you the sequence.
Yeah.
The next step is to print check or generate a bank file and send to bank. After that, we run the costing process. Then we do the final process called as transfer to GL. We use a rollback process to undo any process that has been generated.
Now, if it is transferred to GL, is it possible to still?
Uh, Technically, no, because those entries have already got posted and there are
How,
inter.
how do you how do you resolve that then? Huh? For
Usually,
example,
if it goes to payroll, after that,
very
if it
simple
goes to
interview. I asked sometimes. No, no, it's asked a very simple question. Instead of 1,000 rupees, they sent 5,000 rupees to employee.
GL.
So how they resolve it?
So next month you will have to take it back. You have to put in adjustments.
So we have to create adjustments.
Hmm.
What is the element entry or what?
Both sides in GL as well as in element entries.
On payroll, what you will do?
Yeah, element entries.
So I have to create adjust element entry.
Correct.
In GL, yes, we can pass a nullify transaction
Hmm.
or we can pass straight away.
Hmm.
But how? If you create the element, it automatically goes to GL, right?
Correct. Correct.
So is there any other way apart from element?
No. So this is the sequence. Okay. Payroll process sequence. Remember this. This is very important. This is how the entire payroll processing happens. These are the name of something called as the flows, name of the processes.
What is this last one?
there is one single flow. Okay, there is one single process. If you submit, it will run through the entire from start to end everything.
Okay.
Okay, it's a combination of 17 different reports and processes.
But here only it's showing 6 only, but how come it is 17?
There are different reports in that processes. So here these reports and all you will run as per your need. But in that, since it's a predefined one, it will run through everything. Even if you don't need it, it will run it.
Is it US simplified payroll? It's for US. But what about other regions?
Other regimes, you have to submit them one by one.
If you are for UAE means they already have this program. It's already they have already this flow, right? But
Yes.
if UAE means they'll have UAE simplified payroll.
They don't have. If required, you can create them, but right now they don't have something which is available from the system.
How do you run actually? Normally, how they run people?
Yeah, we'll show you. I'll show you in the system. Okay, so this is the whole process for payroll processing.
Okay.
This costing we'll talk about later. Costing hierarchy will first let us see in the system now. Oh, did you get any system from Bhaskar today? Oh, shucks.
Yesterday he sent. In the morning he was connected.
Huh?
Yeah, he sent something yesterday.
He sent yesterday. Saturday he said oh, no systems will be available.
No, he was working in the morning. Yesterday he sent.
Has he sent it? I don't see it.
No. December 4th only he sent.
Hmm.
After he told it's implement, but morning he was working.
If you can just ping him.
He told he'll share the incident, he didn't share. I sent a message if you can call.
So this is the top section is the search, and then here when you are creating, you will have the create icon.
Can you show me the navigation line? How did you come from this is? Where from a setup and maintenance?
Yeah, setup and maintenance. I searched for payroll, payroll definition. Clicked on plus. Choose the legislative data group. And this can be like continue. So the name, you can give your own payroll name. Let's say SP monthly payroll. This will be again a reporting name. Consolidation set, this is the whole group name of the enterprise that will get created by default. And period type, this is monthly.
What is that consultation group?
It is basically grouping for payrolls. First period end date, this is the first month that you will create in the system. Okay, first ever month. So let's say we are starting from January. So the first period end date will be January 31st. So if it is a weekly one, end of the first week. If it is a default bi-monthly, end of the first 15 days. Default payment, this is the check. And you need to have some valid organization methods. So for that, we create the organization methods that can be used with this payroll. You have to specify them. So one could be check, that if someone doesn't have a bank detail set up, you can pay him by check at least. The other option is direct deposit. And once you do next, you will be taken to the page where you can give the offsets. So now how many years of payroll you want to define, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, you can come back and keep changing this in future after each year goes over. Offset details, offset details here means when is the cutoff date, when is the payslip availability date, when is the payroll run date. So based on how you are entering these dates, 0 calendar days before or after, on or later, like that, subject to the period end date or period start date. Subject to that, usually we take it with period end date. So cutoff planned submission date. When do you plan to submit your payroll for processing? So maybe 3 days before the period end date. So you will say 3 days before. Cutoff date, that means last date of entries, maybe 5 days before. By 25th, whatever entries will come, they will be processed. After that, they will not be processed. Payslip availability date, 0 calendar days. Payroll run date, 0 means on that day. 0 means period end date. Date earned and date paid. When is the payment? Maybe payment is 1 day after the period end date. That means first of the month, first of the following month. Once this is done, we press next.
What is the dirt earned is?
Sorry,
There's one more column is the dirt earned. Date earned, dirt paid is the.
this date earned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the date on which they are getting a like supposedly earned their salary. Value for the date paid and date payroll run date offset must be payroll run date. Oh, run date and pay date must be same. So if you want to keep the run date 0, date paid. Payroll date paid and payroll run date. Both are same only. Date paid 0 calendar days before period end date. Payroll run date 0 calendar days before. Oh, it's the same. Okay. So now see, this entire calendar for 1 year has been generated based on the dates that we have given it, the offset dates. You followed this?
No, what happened? That what was the issue?
I think it was the mismatch in that date. So I made it 1 day before for both of them. So then it accepted. So the first month, 31st, if we are seeing the start date is first, end date is 31st, cutoff date 5 days before, so it's 26th. Date earned is the 1 day before the end period end date 31st. No, 0 days. Payroll run date is 30th, and paid date is 30th. Payslip availability is 31st, and planned submission date is 28th. So in this way, for every month, you have the dates. So if you are generating a calendar for 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, all these dates will be automatically updated. And then you can go back and change them later on also as required, because sometimes holidays fall come in. A date might fall on a holiday, local holiday, or
No, if for example, if 1 month December is coming holiday, or 1 month only, if you want to, how do you change?
then you can go back to that screen and then you can change it.
No, but this will affect all the periods, right?
No, it will only affect that month. You have to change only for that month.
No, I don't understand. Can you go to the screen? Can you query that
And make change for this date only.
but there is an option. How do you change?
Yeah, yeah. So this is the date, and why is it? It'll come in edit mode, actions. Edit is not enabled. See these dates? These are the dates which you can change. Period start date, end date, you can't change, obviously. Every month has a fixed start and a fixed end date. Okay, so this is the payroll definition. Then we have the organization payment method, which is just below this.
For employee back accounts, very different because we didn't see in core HR.
That you define directly in that payment methods we had seen, na? Where you go and define how much percentage in which bank over there. So these
No,
are the two different payment methods that have been defined. If you need more, you can define them as per your need. So bank name, bank reference, all
so
these
this is an
details will be
organization
maintained.
setup, right?
Sorry?
This is organization setup.
This is the organization setup, correct?
For employee, how do you set up? Where you enter the account number and all?
We had seen the payment method for employee.
No,
Yes, payment method where we said 50% in one account, 25%
no,
in another account, 5,000 in one account.
no, we didn't see that setup. When today?
No, no.
No,
When
no,
we were looking at employee details
no, no. Core the
like
account.
2 weeks back.
I don't think we see that. Anyway, I'll check the recording right now.
Hmm.
I don't think we didn't see that account setup and all.
Okay, I'll check the video.
We didn't see. That's why. No.
Okay. If you haven't seen, I'll show you. And this is the payment source. So these are the payment details for respective to the payment method.
The payment is already there.
So here you are maintaining only the payment methods.
For can you add one thing, the telegraphic transfer?
Yeah, you can add it here as
So
per your
whatever
need.
payment methods, no, no, whatever payment method defined,
Yeah,
this will come at the employee, right?
this will count. This is for the organization. What organization will use for making the payment?
The bank transfer, how they will do?
Direct deposit.
No, but direct deposit is different. Telegraphic transfer is different.
Yeah, the so depends on what process they need basically.
If
So
I
if
want to
they
do telegraphic transfer, how to do that? Can you show me?
so the process is different maybe, but from a point of view here you will define another organization payment method called telegraphic transfer, and payment type will be what type of payment that you will be doing, that you will define. So this is the payment type. So these are the seeded payment types. So you have to choose from within them only. Name can be different. Understood?
Yeah, understood. This I'm thinking how to set up telegraphic transfer.
Yeah. So you will call it telegraphic transfer, and then payment type you will choose one of these. From what bank you are transferring and all those details, if applicable, you will fill it up.
We have only three payment types.
You can't create payment types.
We cannot create, right?
You can't.
Okay, proceed. Let's see.
Hmm. Now, after the payment method is done, payroll is done, we defined payroll, we defined organization payment method. Now let us look at fast formulas.
So
So the
payment,
way,
payroll
sorry,
payment definition, then organization payment methods.
yeah. So let's look at fast formulas. So when you define fast formulas, there are different types of fast formulas that I told you. The most common one that we use in payroll is for Oracle payroll, which is used during the payroll processing. And other ones are required, things like accruals, benefits. These are as and when required, we'll be defining them.
I didn't understand. What is it?
What I said, you have Oracle payroll as the most common type of formulas. Anything else that you will define, you will need to define them as per your need, like benefits, accruals. There are different types of formulas. So to create a formula, we again create on this, click on this create, we'll give it a name, SP, let's say HRA calc. Type, you will see there are whole different types. Okay. So if we are using it in payroll, we'll have to use it as Oracle payroll. That will be the definition. If it is only for one legislation, you can say which legislation it is for. Give a start date. Type of editor is text, and then we continue.
Can you show that process again?
Yeah.
It's a type. What are other types of Oracle payroll? It's
Benefits is there, accruals is there. There are different types. Element input validation is there. So here, this is the pad, text pad where you will write your formula. So let's just go and pick up, let's say this one. Here the entire line will get copied. Use that as a formula for, in before you create your formula, create your basic salary element and then use that in your formula. Now, after you do this, you save it and then you compile it. And once you compile, you save it, you can submit it. So the compile status, till it turns green, you cannot use it.
it's compiled, right? No, not yet.
You can refresh it and see. Yeah, so now it's compiled.
For me, I'm most interested in fast formulas. So try to consider this with some complex, medium to complex formulas.
Now, in this, suppose we have our other, like we were looking at the other elements, other input values. Let's say we have this input validation. So we'll create this and we'll put it, let's say SP input validation, we'll call it. Type will be element input validation, element input validation. And this is US. So once you define this, so suppose your input value is not text, then no need to have it. It can be a number only. And you don't need to convert it into a number also. You being a programmer, you know this
You are
already.
adding to some other columns this formula.
No, I'm not adding any other column. I'm just going to make it a numeric value. So it is easier to compare. So everything else will remain the same.
Now, what about the previously you written something? What about that HRE?
That is also there. This is another type. This is of element input validation. Pay attention, Sadiq. This is element input validation formula. So we save it and then we again you can submit it, compile it, wait for it to get compiled. these screens, they look exactly the same, but one or two values here and there will change.
Or refresh. I have to press refresh.
Hmm. So now it's compiled. Okay.
Okay. Previous one more Oracle payroll validation, right? Something you need.
Yes, that was Oracle Payroll. This was element input validation. Now, since it is an element input validation, what
No,
we
how
can
to,
do, we can attach it to an element. So let's see.
no, the previous one also for element only, right? How do you?
Yes, that is for element also.
No, for no, both are for element only, right?
Yes, one is attached within the element, one is attached. I'll show you the difference. So there is no element defined here. Let's say spot bonus. Let's add it over here. That was spot bonus only, na? We added it. So over here, whichever input value on which you want the formula validation, let's say you want it on the amount. So we will click on the amount. You can also come through this my client groups, show more, and search for elements. You will get the same thing. So say this is the amount input value. And we want to edit it.
Whatever.
Give me some error. So let's see if we can do it this time. This is the amount input value. Okay, amount input value. I'm going to edit it, and under this there is this validation formula. Sadiq, you're seeing this?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is the validation formula which you will add here. So you should be able to see when is it, what is the date here. Oh, this is 7/12. Let me change the date. Now over here, see now SP input validation is coming. Okay, so we choose that SP input validation. So this rule becomes linked to this input value.
Okay.
Understood?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we submit it. Oh, we have to specify what happens, whether it is error or a warning or error. We can say error. That means if things don't work out, system will not allow you to move ahead.
So that's it. We create a formula you attached here.
Correct. Now, this was the validation formula. If it was a regular formula like we did for Oracle payroll, then you have to come to status processing rules here like this. You see the status processing rule here?
Yeah. How do you decide whether it's Oracle payroll or element? How do you define?
So the decision is input validation will happen at the time of the value being entered by the user, whereas Oracle payroll will happen when the payroll is run.
Um,
That is the difference basically. So by default something would be there, so you can delete this. Once you have deleted, it will be gone, and then we go back to status processing rule again, and then we say create status processing rule. So here you will get the name of your formula.
okay. So this is to attach payroll program.
Correct. So this is the way to attach the payroll formula. So SPHRA calculation, this was the name of our formula, and the return values that we had. Okay. So this one is like return value HRA. So where will it go? It's a direct result. Direct result means it will go into the in pay value of the same element. Okay. So we are doing the calculation for spot bonus. So it will return the value in the spot bonus itself. Result rules, there are other options, like if you want to put a message, so much of money has been paid to you for as bonus. So then you can put it as a message. Indirect result means from one element you are feeding another element. Then message order indirect means you can feed to some other recurring element also, which will keep going. Target indirect means this is a one time non-recurring element which you are feeding. And stop means you will not process it anymore if a condition is fulfilled. For example, if you have taken a loan and the loan amount gets reduced to zero, you will not process the payroll anymore, right? You will not process the EMI, sorry, not the payroll. You will not process the EMI anymore, isn't it?
But this element is not a specific employee, right? It is applicable about all, right?
Yes, this is applicable for all. This is not specific for any employee. Remember that.
Because that loan, if I'm just confused that example you are
So the example, Now those who have loans, for
Okay.
them, once they pay back, you will not deduct anymore, na?
But that is for not for all employees. There will be only
Not
specific.
employees, whoever has it. Similarly, bonus also. Maybe not all employees are getting a bonus. Element is like that only, na? Only those who are getting it will get it.
Okay.
Just because you define one element doesn't mean everybody gets it, does it?
Yeah.
So that is what is how we do the processing. So I think we have covered a lot today. We have talked about defining payroll. We have talked about defining organization payment method, how we define a formula. Two types of formulas we have seen: validation formula, Oracle payroll formula, and how we can link them to the element is also what we have seen. Okay.
Okay. Okay. A bit confused.
You need to do some practice. Please look at the video and do the practice. I'll have this video sent.
Yeah, but I wanted to see the